Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to help the world one person or one starfish at a time. As always, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share. That's how we get the word out about what we do. I'm excited for our guest today. I just met Hana. She is early when she's on this call, so kudos to her. She's originally from Jordan, so she's been traversing the American world and the Arab world, which I think is neat. I think that we can dig into that somewhere. She's a co-founder of a company called Sinai. It's AI. I always get those two mixed up. It's about AI, so we'll get into that. She started in 2024/2025 with four other partners, which is super cool. And before that, she was in financial management. She's also a singer, a songwriter. She's published. Check her out on Instagram and all the things. And she's been, working in both backgrounds in the Arab world and the US world in all of these areas. So that's pretty cool. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, let's get into, because I know this is your passion project, and then I'm curious, where it came from. What is Sinai?
So Sinai is a reading platform that's going to transforms the way you read, really. We've been used to reading books, paper books, which I love doing. That evolved into ebooks and audiobooks. And Sinai is sort of what happens when you bring AI into the mix. So it's an AI native, interactive, hyper-personalized, two-way communication medium where you can really deep dive into the book or read the way you want to. So it's meant to transform the way people read so that it adapts to your personal reading habits, styles, needs.
That kind of thing. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. What made you want to start it?
Well, actually, I met my co-founders. I was working on a financial project with them just to forecast some financial scenarios that they were looking for. So I was sort of on a freelance basis, and I met them. And as I was doing the financial forecasting, which, by the way, I love doing because it tells the story of where something can go in the future. And it's for me, it's kind of like it's storytelling and finding the highlights of what works and what doesn't work and what could happen. So as I was doing that, I was struck by the similarities between the parallel between the music industry and the publishing industry, and what happened to the music industry about 10, 20 years ago when streaming came in to play, how that transformed everything and business models. For the book industry, what I realized is that that's what the book industry is going through now with AI coming into the mix. And I just found it fascinating that the two industries were going through sort of a parallel trajectory, but at different times. And I used to be an avid reader. And somewhere along the line, I lost my ability to focus and really finish a book. And I've always found books fascinating. And they used to sort of be the characters in the books, and the books themselves used to be friends of mine. I would carry them around. I would, that's how my relationship to books, and it changed completely. So when I met them, we had a great working relationship, and that evolved into more conversations about the company and where it could go, and like the actual vision of the platform. And that developed into a co-founder relationship, and we decided to just sort of join forces and continue the journey together.
That's cool. So where do you see it going? What is your vision for? I mean, it's a new company. When we're recording this, it's a new company. So what do you see as the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I honestly see that this will, I mean, the way I see it is that people who are reading audiobooks right now, or people who are reading ebooks right now, probably won't need those platforms that they're using, and they're going to end up using Sinai, where you can do everything in one place, right? So you can listen to a book while you read it. At the same time, you can interact with the platform to ask it questions about the book. So you can do that in any language that you choose, in any cultural context. And one thing about Sinai is that we invented a patented technology, and we've sort of termed it the AI book, where there's full contextual awareness of the book. So it enables all these experiences when you're reading the book on the platform, and I really wish that I could give you a demo here
Right. I was thinking that.
right. Actually,
Well, hopefully we can have something in the show notes that people can check out.
yes, and right now we're in private beta mode, so you can actually just go to the website, sign up, and get access to private testing if you'd like. And it's going to be launched pretty soon. But the idea is that this AI book format enables you to really ask the book questions and read at your own pace. Like if you want to summarize something, you can, but if you want to deep dive into it, you can. If you want to test your knowledge about what kind of information did you retain from whatever you read, you can do that as well. The other day I was reading, so I'm reading 3 books at the same time right now to try and compare my experiences, right? So I have a paper book and I have an audiobook and I have an ebook and I'm reading on Sinai. And I found that like I'm the kind of reader where I love to like underline certain phrases because I write eventually what turns into lyrics. So I like collecting those notes. You can do that on Sinai, but at the same time, I'm reading and I want to delve deeper into like historical context of what this author meant about a certain paragraph. Instead of like putting the book down, going into like Google or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is that you use, you can do that all in one platform. So I'm finding myself in anticipation of having this product out and ready in public and released. And hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, that'll be the
almost
case.
Released. Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
So are you going to have like all books on it? Is that kind of the general gist then? Everything will be available on this platform?
So we're a trade books platform and it's really the first platform where the books are, well, the first AI native platform where the books are legally sourced. So it's 100% permissioned by publishers. We acquire the books legally from publishers. And that's the other unique thing about Sinai is that the business model is structured in such a way where we bring the publishers to become partners with us. So they're making money off of any interaction that you have with the book. So it's not just reading the context. If you're working off a summary or you create a derivative subbook or you're just engaging in a Q&A back and forth, the publishers are actually monetizing. And that's the other parallel that I'm thinking of when I think of the music industry. Like when streaming came into play and playlists came into play, there was like piracy with Napster, there was the legal approach with Spotify, and it took publishers or labels at the time a really long time to get on. It took them about 15 years to get on board with this new business model. So there was so much revenue lost. It was I think upwards of 9 billion revenue lost in over 15 years. And if you think about the publishing industry right now, if they wait as long as the labels did or the musicians and writers did, if they don't learn from sort of the mistake of the music industry, they could replicate what happened, right? You don't want to have that loss of the IP and the monetization of the IP and creative control over what happens when readers are interacting with the book in this way. And they're already reading this. You know how many people source or try to source books into LLMs right now, but they do it and they're hitting a legal wall. And as you know, all the LLMs trained illegally on the content, right? So all that content was already stolen and trained on. Whereas in our environment, it's a closed ecosystem. It protects the publisher's IP. There's no external training on it. And it fairly compensates the publishers for whatever engagement that the readers have with the content.
So with it, is it like a platform where it's like a subscription service or you buy per book, or how does that part work?
Yeah, it's Audible-like. You have a subscription, you redeem credits, you have a 1 credit per book, and you can top it off if you want to read more books in the month. There's a basic subscription where you can access public domain books. So those are the books that don't have licensing required by publishers. And you also have the premium subscription where you have access to the premium books from publishers for a higher price, of course. And of course, if you want to try it one time and you don't want to right away commit to that subscription, you can do the pay as you go until you're ready to subscribe.
That's cool. That's really awesome. And so you've been running a music business of your own for quite a while. How long ago have you got into music?
Oh, well, music's been a part of my life since childhood. And I was classically trained on piano and violin, and very quickly was fascinated by, again, the idea of storytelling through music. And I found myself writing songs in math class and sharing songs with friends and family until a bit later, I decided to join a band, tour with them, learn what it means to be an onstage musician. I was very inspired by live music events to the point where I think that was the reason that I started the business that I mentioned. It's called BalaFeesh. I love the live music energy exchange between listeners and musicians. And it's what gets me on stage, but it's what got me to organize these live music events in the Arab world. At the time that I launched the business, it was 2013. We were active between 2013 and 2019, right before COVID. And there wasn't really anything like it at the time in the region. So we hosted over, 45 artists from 9 different Arab countries. And the idea was to have collaborative performances on stage and film them so that we have an online library. So it was kind of like the Arab World NPR's Tiny Desk series, if you're familiar with that. And we have a great YouTube channel with this content. It's a way to explore and discover other musicians. And we were active during that time. And then after that, we just maintained the online library.
Awesome. And then you were born in Jordan, and then you came to the States for some university at some point. How did that and you traveled, you were in a band, all that kind of stuff. How did that relate to your family growing up? Were they like, yeah, go for it, Hannah, you got this? Or was there some little girl, stay home with us?
Well, my family and I are very close. And so it was hard to be away from them for sure, for university and for the time that I spent in the US after. Definitely, I was always caught between two homes, so to speak, right? So I felt a pull towards being closer to family and closer to the country and the region that I grew up in and the culture. And between the new experiences I was having in the US, that's where I met the first band that I joined and really learned how to tour and make music with a great music community in Michigan, in Ann Arbor. It shaped so much of who I am. So I think a lot of my music reflects that too, this observations of having dualities in my life and a push and pull between two different worlds on many levels. And I found that the struggle of that is actually what nourished sort of a sense of purpose that came later. So it's the band experience and the experience I had in the U.S. that fed into what I later did in Jordan and in the Arab world. That I didn't realize it at the time, but for example, I did my MBA in Michigan, and at the same time I joined this band, and at the same time I was touring. And when I went back to Jordan for a visit, actually, I sort of hopped onto this project of a creative startup that was doing work in the media and content creation space in the Arab world, and they wanted just financial consultation, right? And so I did that as a gig. It was supposed to be a 3-month gig, but then I realized through working with them and in partnership with them, I launched the BalaFeesh platform. So I was doing the financial management plus this new live music endeavor, plus I was performing now more in the Arab world. And I thought, okay, so now is the time for a new chapter. And I'm feeling this pull and a sense of purpose to be part of creating a music community in the Arab world, or be a part of that, contributing to that. And I loved it because I realized that everything that I had experienced was building up to this new chapter. And I've also found in my life that it's okay to not define yourself by one thing, and to start over when you're ready. So sometimes whatever you're doing can be a stint of like a number of years. Like maybe you're doing 10 years in one thing and then you realize, okay, this was it. And now I'm ready for the next chapter. And it's so scary to start over, especially if you're traveling between two different cultures and worlds and places. And especially if you are doing it between two contrasting like professional ecosystems. Like one is business and one's creative for me. And I had to like really like accept the fact that I like existing in the intersection of different worlds. And despite the sometimes the discomfort that comes with that, it's what inspires me. So it's okay to start over. It's okay to start new projects and new phases of your life, as long as you feel like there is a sense of purpose pushing you forward.
So you said it's uncomfortable. Tell us a little bit about that. What does that mean? And why are you okay with that?
Uncomfortable. So there is maybe a lot of external pressure that comes with being in the intersection of music and business. Like some people want you to clearly define yourself as one or the other. Like are you doing business full time, or are you doing music full time? Or you're not taking either of them seriously if you're doing both,
I could see that, yeah.
I think that for me, I did feel that pressure, and sort of catered my answers to what was expected of me. Like in some settings, I would feel like I'd need to voice only one side, and in other settings, I could only voice the other side. And so really it became fragmented. Some people saw me just as an artist. Other people saw me just as an executive, and I realized that it took me years to even right down to writing my bio. Like I would have different bios that seemed like clipped versions of myself. And then I realized that there should be full integration of who you are as a person, that shouldn't be defined just by what you're doing, because you can do many different things in life. And if you're defined by what you do, I feel like you lose sense of who you are and what your identity is. And for me, once I embraced all sides of what I like to do and how I feel stimulated creatively and professionally, and one drives the other, I just started feeling more comfortable in presenting that integrated voice rather than making other people around me feel more comfortable by boxing myself into one or the other. And I think the same goes for, well, I don't know if I want to touch on this in my first podcast, but maybe the cultural influences that I've had between having experiences both in the Arab world and in the US. I'm sometimes seen as too foreign for the Arab world, and sometimes seen as too foreign, too Arab for the I want to say the Western world, I guess. And again, it's about knowing who you are, and for me, knowing who I am and where I come from, and how that is really important in shaping what I want to be doing with my life.
Yes, and I'm glad you touched on that, because I was actually curious. I'm actually curious about that a little bit. So, the Arab world, I don't know honestly much about it per se, beyond whatever is out there. You're actually one of the people. So what would you say some of the biggest differences from the Arab world to the Western world that you found, and how did you adapt? Either way, like going either way, to be honest, because you go back and forth.
I think, well, that's a very broad question, also a difficult question to answer. I think what stands out most for me is the attitude and the way we approach family, like family and just community in general. I feel like we have a very strong awareness of what family and community brings to your life, and how that's sort of really precious and needs to be taken into account. So I guess it's the whole individualistic approach versus the community approach. Yeah.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, as a female, isn't there, now this could be different cultures, obviously, isn't there some cultures in the Arab world where females are looked upon differently than males? Let's put it that way. Was that at all in your community, or not really anything that because you're a very strong female. And I just wondered, like, is that culture part of where you came from, where that wasn't necessarily, I don't know if the right word is as encouraged. I mean, there's a lot of strong women everywhere, so that's wrong. But like to go start a business and to go be independent and, doing that kind of stuff. Is that something that was different than your community specifically, or not really?
Not really. I think that's a misconception. I think it's a misconception. And I think we in the Arab world are surrounded by strong female figures and strong female voices. And I think there's a misconception in the West about women having less opportunities, or I mean, of course, we live in the patriarchy, right, everywhere. So that exists everywhere. But but not, I wouldn't say more so in my experience in the Arab world versus the US. And I would say that I think there are strong examples of female-led initiatives and in both communities that I've been a part of. The music community in Ann Arbor, Michigan, the Arab world in general. There are many examples of that. And I mean, bringing this back to Sinai a little bit. So we are 5 co-founders, and 4 of us are Egyptian and I'm Jordanian. So we're all of Arab origin, and we're based in San Francisco and Cairo. And I spend my time between Amman, Jordan, Cairo, and the US. And so it's just very interesting how we all bring a sense of different experiences that sort of converge into just what it means to be human, rather than what it means to be Arab versus American versus whatever.
That's really good. And you have a very strong self-confidence. Like you said, like, you're just like, I can be all these things. It's not about like what I do, it's who I am. And you've just kind of stepped into, like, you've got a pretty strong power for, I would say, a young person. I don't know how old you are, and it doesn't really care, but I'd say you look young.
Thank you. I'm not that young.
You look young, yes. But where did that self-confidence come from? Because I don't believe everyone just has it. People can build it. I believe that. So I'm curious, like, was it something you just had, quote unquote, like something in childhood? Your mom was really strong, your dad, I don't know, something like that. Or was it something you had to work on and you've developed? What was it for you?
Well, I think, thank you for the kind words, first of all. Second, I think for me, well, believe it or not, it wasn't always easy for me to communicate and express my thoughts, even as a child. I think I've been in my own head a lot, and I think that music allowed me to express things I wouldn't normally know how to. So in music, I found more confidence sharing what it is that I feel or what I want to say, or an opinion I had, is through either what I'm writing, what I'm sharing, or what I'm playing. I play the piano and the guitar, and so it's either communicated through the instruments, through the song that I'm writing or that I'm singing. And because people can relate songs to their own lives, it's a way to connect with people, and it's a way to be understood that is beyond language and words, and that gave me one level of confidence for sure, because it became about shared experiences through music and relating messages through music. And the other thing, again, first podcast, do I want to say this? Is that I think I had to hit a lot of walls and feel the struggle of sort of breaking down and feeling like just having sort of a breakdown. When you go through a struggle of something major, whether it's like depression or whatever it is, you have to evaluate your priorities in life and what it is that actually brings you peace inside and a sense of balance and knowing who you are. And sometimes you have to lose a lot of what you think you know before you understand those priorities. And once you do, there's a lot of confidence in that, I think.
Yes. Well, thanks for being open and a little bit of vulnerable on that. And it's amazing because a lot of people, like I said, aren't born that way, and they have to develop it, because I think in order to really succeed at anything in life, you need self-confidence, because like other people are not going to just like believe in you unless you believe in you. They'll try, like some people pour belief into us and give us that, but I feel like deep down it has to come from within somehow. And that's something that you've obviously developed and will continue to develop as you go. And who knows what your next steps will be. Right now you're doing business, you're doing music, maybe it'll be something else. Like I can tell that you can just remake yourself depending on where you're led to be. It's not like I'm that one person. I am all these other things too. These are just things I do. I really like that. Things I do instead of things I am. Really, really important. Hope you guys really caught that, because I think that's really a big thing that's I worked through, and it's like who you are, and you're pretty soon you're like, I'm a police officer or I'm a firefighter. Well, that's what you do. That's not who you are. But it's easy to dwell into that because our society does encourage that a lot. So I love that. That's really cool. Awesome, guys. So make sure to check out the sites. In wrapping up, I always have 3 final questions, and then anything we didn't touch on Sinai or anything else that you just think would be really impactful for our listeners. First and final question, you talked about this for your purpose. What's one sentence you would say that could help you find your purpose?
I would say don't underestimate the power of rewiring your brain in the learning process and what that can do. So we were just talking about confidence, right? I think when you're learning something new, your brain you can give the space for your brain to recalibrate, because when you're learning something new, you're not quite sure how to move forward, right? There's not so much confidence in that. But if you really believe in the power of your brain to rewire itself and recalibrate and redefine what it is you feel like you can do, it takes you further into the next step that you didn't think was possible. So that's what I would say.
It's good. Second question, what's a favorite quote and why?
So there's a it's an Arabic quote, على هذه الأرض ما يستحق الحياة, which is a line for Mahmoud Darwish. He's a Palestinian poet, and it translates roughly into on this land is that which is deserving of life, or on this land there's that that is worth living for. And I like it because it's a statement on that the act of resistance to anything that's to anything that is an occupying force or something that's an oppressive force can come in the everyday acts of life, right? So doing your everyday things is a form of resistance itself. And the reason I like this quote is because it reminds me not to get stuck in whatever bubble that I'm in, to remember to remember to understand what my impact on the world is, to do things that are meaningful for humanity, to think beyond the bubbles that we sometimes confine ourselves in. So how you impact others, the compassion you have, remembering not to make a big deal out of things that could be a bigger deal. Like, it's just a way to it's like a moral compass in a way.
It's good. I like it. Number 3, what's one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
Right. Well, I have 2 wonderful nephews, and I would say I would hope they would think that I was a cool aunt. So I would say cool aunt, great sister, something like that.
I like it. That's very cool. I have nieces and nephews, so I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I like that. You run into someone in the coffee shop and they listen to this, they're going to check out the platform. Also check out your music. Like, we can have that information too, because it's pretty
that's
cool.
Great.
But what's something we didn't touch on that you think would be really impactful for our listeners?
I think that maybe something we didn't touch on is the kind of who's the kind of person that would want Sinai, right? And we touched on it a little by saying it's for me, it was like the lack of focus, and maybe this platform is going to help me like retain information and get back to reading in a more focused way. But there are so many different kinds of readers and non-readers that I think would enjoy coming to the platform and trying it out. So I would say whether you're a big reader, whether you're seeking a lot of knowledge in nonfiction, whether you're curious about more immersive fictional experiences on the platform, it really can cater to any type of reader. Even if you're a non-reader and you have the intention to read, but you haven't had that follow through yet, I would say whatever kind of reader you are, if you're curious about books and if you want to experience something new in the way we read or learn, this would be a good platform to go to.
That's awesome. Guys, make sure to share this. Check everything out. We go out there. If we can share this, if we can help one person or one starfish together, we can help change the world. Thanks for being on, Hana.
Thank you so much.